Hi, San Ramon first graders. Today we're going to be doing Unit 5, Phonics Unit 5, Session 9. Okay, and what you're going to need is there's just a page of snap words, which are a lot of the same snap words we've already had. So there's a lot of repeating, just so you know, so you're not confused. I've cut mine into little parts. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how a lot of snap words are not hard, right? So you don't have to. When I was a little girl, we had to memorize every single word. We had to keep writing them over and over and over and over. Yeah, write every word 10 times, and it got really boring. So what we're trying to do is trying to eliminate some of that work for you. So what you might have already realized is some words aren't hard to spell. They're pretty easy words. They are spelled like they sound, and then others are tricky. And the ones that are tricky, it's not usually the whole word that's tricky. It's one little section that's tricky. So if you can hone it down to that one little section, then you just have to memorize that little section. You don't have to try to memorize the whole word, if that makes sense. So for instance, if you take the word same from the word wall, that's spelled kind of the way it sounds, right? Same. The A is long. The E makes the A say its name. So it's same. It sounds like an S. It sounds like an M. And it sounds like a long A. That's a pretty straightforward word. Same thing for the word wait. You've got a W at the beginning. AI. First vowel's doing the talking. Two vowels are doing the walking. First one's doing the talking. So that gives you the long A sound. Wait. T at the end. Okay? I would argue the same thing is true for the word until. You've got and then till. Pretty straightforward. So these are words you don't necessarily have to like spend a lot of time memorizing. You just have to know the sounds and just sound it out, right? That's just sort of straightforward spelling. There are other ones that are tricky. We've covered the word set already. That sounds like S-E-D, right? So that one's tricky. So this is one where, but it's tricky, but it's only tricky in the middle. The S sounds the way it should. The D sounds the way it should. The only one that's confusing, that AI sounds like it should be an E, right? So that's the only part you have to learn then. You have to learn the A and the I of the word said. Same thing is true for the word very. The beginning sounds like itself. It's the inside. This should be very is how you should say that if you were to do it just straightforward. And a little secret where I come from, that's how people say it. People in Philadelphia say very. It's very odd. Anyway, but the rest of the world says very, and so it sounds like A-I-R. So that's the only tricky part. You just have to learn those two words. The Y does that thing the Y often does. It says a long E, or sometimes it can say a long I. It depends on the word, but that one's pretty straightforward. But it's just that inside part that's the tricky part. Another tricky word, I think, is walk. And again, the W sounds like itself. The K sounds like itself. The weird part of this word, you even hear the the A, that schwa A sound. It's the L, right? It's that A-L. This is the tricky part. So that's the part you just have to memorize. That's the only part you have to memorize. You don't have to worry about memorizing the W and the K because they sound the same. Let's look at the word kind and find. These words, these are on your part of your snap words today. These words look, the way you should say it is kind and find, right? But that's not how you say it. You say kind and find. So again, K sounds normal. ND, you keep kind. You hear the whole ND, you hear the K. The part that doesn't sound right is that I. It doesn't seem like it should be a long I. And obviously find rhymes with kind, so they're very similar to each other. So if you learn one, if you remember in the word kind, it's just one I. That's all you got. It's the same thing for find. So once you learn one of them, then the other one will hopefully be in your brain too, and then you'll know that one. The other word that's weird that I pulled out for you is the word often. It looks like it's of 10. Of 10, so you could even say that to yourself. You could say of 10, often. and maybe that'll help you remember it. Of already is weird. We know that of is a weird word. It sounds like it should be OV, but it's OF. You've probably already learned that one because we had that so long ago. And then the 10 part, remember the T is silent, so it's off, often. There you go, often. So that's just another word. This part sounds normal, and that sounds pretty normal. It's just that FT that's a little wacky. And same thing with the word enough. Enough sounds like it should be written ENUFF, I would say, enough. But that's not it. For some reason, OUGH is making the uff sound here. It doesn't always do that. Sometimes it makes an off sound, like cough or sloth. It can be all these different weird things. So anyway, in this situation, it's uff. So that's just how we're going to understand that. But it's enough. So en, that sounds right. You can usually spell that part. It's the uff that's the tricky part. And OUGH, that is when you're going to have to just memorize. But think about, instead of having to memorize every single word, these you got. These, it's just a couple letters inside the word that you have to learn. So that takes a little bit of pressure off you. It's a little bit easier when you know you only have to learn a few of those words. So this is just a little lesson on trying to figure out the part of the word that's the tricky part for you, and the part of the word that doesn't follow the regular patterns. And if you can figure those out in the words that you have trouble spelling, that should make it easier for you. You can narrow it down. You don't have to learn 8 letters necessarily. You might only have to work on those 2 or 3 letters that are the tricky ones. So that's just it's just a little lesson that's a tip on that. So if you have certain words that you continue to spell wrong, pull them apart, look at them and say, okay, which part is the tricky part of this word, right? It's not the whole word usually. It's usually just one little part. So find that part and you can memorize it. All right? Have a good day, guys. Bye.